Juliet Merabueno, and my topic is excerpt from Republic Act number 6657 or Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law of 1988. The Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law of 1988 establishes the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program or CARP with the primary goal of promoting social justice, rural development, and industrialization. It prioritizes the welfare of landless farmers and farm workers, ensuring equitable land distribution while providing just compensation to landowners. An act instituting a comprehensive agrarian reform program to promote social justice and industrialization, providing the mechanism for its implementation and for other purposes like land distribution. Farmers and farm workers are entitled to own the lands they till or receive a fair share of their produce, subject to ecological and developmental considerations. Small landowners' rights are respected and voluntary land sharing is encouraged. Second is participation and support. Farmers, landowners, and cooperatives can partake in the planning and implementation of the program. The state provides support through technology, research, and financial and marketing assistance. Third, utilization of natural resources. The program applies agrarian reform principles to public lands, prioritizing rights of indigenous communities and small settlers. Landless farmers may be resettled on state agricultural estates. Fourth is marine and fishing resources. Subsistence fishermen are given priority access to communal resources with state support for technology, financial aid, and conservation. Offshore resources are protected against foreign intrusion. Fifth is responsibilities of landowners. Agricultural landowners must cultivate their lands productively and have a social responsibility to society. Sixth is incentives. The law encourages landowners to reinvest proceeds from agrarian reform into industrialization and employment. 7 is leasing public lands. Undeveloped public lands may be leased for capital-intensive farming subject to beneficiaries' rights. The Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law of 1988 applies to all public and private agricultural lands, regardless of tenural arrangement or crops produced, as outlined in Proclamation No. 131 and Executive Order No. 229. It specifically covers like public agricultural lands and excess public domain lands, government-owned agricultural lands, and private agricultural lands. For public agricultural lands, alienable and disposable lands of the public domain suitable for agriculture with no reclassification of forest or mineral lands allowed without Congress defining public domain limits. Second is excess public domain lands. Lands are exceeding the limit set by Congress. Next is government-owned agricultural lands. Lands owned by the government and suitable for agriculture. Next is private agricultural lands. Lands privately owned and used or suitable for agriculture regardless of crops produced. So the distribution of all lands covered by this act shall commence immediately upon its effectivity and must be fully completed within a 10-year period, ensuring timely implementation of agrarian reform objectives. Section 6 limits land ownership to 5 hectares per landowner, with 3 hectares awarded to each child aged 15 or older actively managing or tilling the land. Exceptions apply to lands under Presidential Decree No. 27 and homestead grantees cultivating their land. Landowners choose retained areas, while tenants can remain as leaseholders or opt to become beneficiaries elsewhere with decisions made within 1 year. Security of tenure for farmers is upheld. Transactions violating the Act are void. The prior transactions must be registered within 3 months. The registers of deeds must report land transactions exceeding 5 hectares to the DAR within 30 days. The Department of Agrarian Reform or DAR and the Presidential Agrarian Reform Council or PARC will implement the acquisition and distribution of agricultural lands over 10 years. Following these phases, Phase 1, within 4 years, lands under Presidential Decree No. 27, rice and corn. Idle or abandoned lands, voluntarily offered private lands, lands foreclosed by government financial institutions, and lands acquired by the PCGC and other government-owned agricultural lands. Phase 2 within 4 years. Alignable public agricultural lands, arable public lands under agroforest, pasture, or leases already cultivated, public lands for development or settlement, and private lands exceeding 50 hectares or excess portions. Phase 3, land holdings of 24 to 50 hectares, distribution starts in the 4th year and completes in 3 years. And land holdings up to 24 hectares, distribution starts in the 6th year and completes in 4 years. Here are the guidelines and special provisions. First, priority is given to tenanted lands and areas declared as priority reform zones. Next, PARC will establish implementing rules and determine qualified beneficiaries. Next, owner-tillers can be beneficiaries of lands they cultivate up to 3 hectares ceiling. Next, land distribution aims to benefit tillers, boost productivity, and align with available resources. Next is Section 8, Multinational Corporations. First is acquisition and distribution of lands. Lands leased or held by multinational corporations or government entities for agribusiness or agro-industrial enterprises will be acquired and distributed within 3 years. Second is lease and contract modifications. Contracts over 1,000 hectares or 500 hectares for foreign individuals will be amended to comply with institutional land limits. Contracts on smaller areas up to 1,000 areas for corporations and 500 hectares for individuals can continue until August 29, 1992, or until their valid termination, after which new agreements must be confirmed by the government. Third is transfer to beneficiaries. All lands must be fully distributed to beneficiaries by August 29, 1992. After this, new contracts between beneficiaries and enterprises will be required. Fourth is private lands subject to acquisition. Lands leased, held, or possessed by multinational corporations or private entities will be acquired and distributed after the expiration of relevant contracts, but not later than